All right, well, good morning, everybody. We are in Genesis 34 in our adventures of Jacob, the adventures of Jacob. We're going through Genesis chapter 34 this morning. Thank you for joining us. If you have signed up for our newsletter on Bible4.family, that's the number 4, then you can sign up for our newsletter on our website. And if you have, you've been emailed out a PDF that you can follow along with those that are here in person. And I'm referring to the handout quite a bit, so that is available for you. And also it'll be in the description of the YouTube video once it's posted. But this morning, we are in Genesis chapter 34, continuing this adventure. This is a very heavy chapter. It's a very tough chapter. I'll give you the overview real quick. This chapter is going to continue in the adventures of Jacob and sons. Sounds like a furniture company almost. In this chapter, we'll see a young Dinah. She's going to take a trip into town to make some friends of the other daughters of the land. While she's there, she's going to be seen by a man named Shechem. He takes advantage of her, and understandably, this makes her brothers very angry. The question is, are they going to handle this situation in a godly way? So let's unpause this epic of the history of Israel. Remember, I'm sure you remember, Jacob's name was recently changed to Israel. And so when we talk about Jacob's sons, we're talking about the founders or the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel. By the way, if you have your Bibles open and you're looking at Genesis 34, look with me, if you would, how we ended Genesis 33. Remember, there's an altar that Jacob built, and remember the name of it? Elohi, Israel. We said that name. That means God, the God of Israel. Well, that sounds normal for Bible stuff, but remember, that's a brand new name. That's Jacob's new name. So we could read that by saying, this altar was for God, the God of Jacob. Remember, it was the God of my fathers. But now we're seeing a change in Jacob's heart. We're seeing this is now the God of Jacob. This is the God of Israel. His name is Israel. So don't let that name throw you. This is a personal name. So we're going to track this as we go through our verse. By the time we get done with our verse by verse, if we can do this, however long we can do verse by verse, you will be so crystal clear on who Israel is. What do we know so far? Israel's a man. That's what we know. This man's name was changed from Jacob to Israel. So he, Jacob, has children. They are known as the children of Israel, the children of Jacob. Now we're going to learn another definition. I've got a video that I wish the whole world would watch on our playlist. It's called The Biblical Definition of Israel. And we start at the beginning and we work our way through. We're doing that in slow motion in our study. But we're going to get the second definition of Israel in our chapter today. We already know a man, Jacob, his name was changed to Israel. So from here until Mount Sinai, so from here until Exodus, when you hear the name Israel, you think Jacob. And when you hear children of Israel, you think family. Drew is the child of Ken. It's my family. If my name was changed to America and I said, he's the children of America, you would know it's just my kids. Children of Israel from here to the base of Mount Sinai is referring to the children of Jacob. It's a large family. By the time we get there, it's a couple million people. And we'll talk about that when we get a little further, but for right now, just remember that part of it. All right, let's dive into this thing. Now, I'm going to put the outline on the screen in the slides as we go through, and I think that'll be helpful. The next 10 verses are going to be about this one idea. Dinah, this is the daughter of Jacob, she is now going to go out and try to meet some friends. While she's out there, she's taken advantage of by Shechem. All right, let's look into this. This is a very tough chapter. Hang with me. Let the Lord speak to you through this chapter. It's a very, very difficult one. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. I have on your handout here notice here that Dinah is going out to meet the daughters of the land. Her age is uncertain here, by the way, which I think her age is a big factor in this chapter. I spent some time on that. I don't think there's a real strong consensus of how old she is. My guess would be, well, we know this, she's a bit younger than Joseph, and Joseph doesn't turn 17 until another chapter. So we know she's under that. But she was old enough to go out by herself and meet some new friends of the daughters of the land. She's also called a young woman, and she's ready for marriage. My guess is, even though this is so different from our culture, my guess is she's probably right around 13. That's my guess from looking at the dates. Okay? So that's my guess, but that does come into play in the story. Verses 2 through 4. So she's out trying to meet new friends of the daughters of the land, and when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her, lay with her, and violated her, it says. In the New King James, the King James says, defiled her. The question of the hour is, what does that mean? I would say we're pretty split as far as commentaries are concerned. And for good reason. It's really ambiguous. Now, I'll tell you what was difficult for me this week looking at this. I've heard my whole life, and I'm just going to be blunt because this is our culture, so people need to understand the wording I'm saying. But I was taught my whole life that she was raped. That's what I've always heard. But when you look at it, there's a lot of ambiguity here. Now, trust me, if I thought that's what happened to her, I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm fine saying that. I'm not exactly sure that what happened here is kind of what you imagine when you imagine somebody being, I don't want to be graphic, but forcibly held down, let's say. Could that have happened? Sure, I am not counting that out. But I'm going to show you some clues along in this chapter where it's a little bit unsure of what happened. Now, here's what I am positive of. Shechem was much older than her. If nothing else, he took advantage of her. That's why I put it that way in your handout very specifically. Shechem definitely took advantage of a young girl, whether he talked her into something, emotionally manipulated her, whatever the case was, the biblical word in the King James is he defiled her, meaning she was a virgin before this moment. That's what defiling means. She was a virgin, she was a clean vessel, and then he took that from her, and she became what the Bible is saying, defiled. And the New King James says he violated her, meaning it wasn't just a matter of her being defiled, of losing virginity, but he did it in a way that was violating her rights. What does that mean? Well, let's look at it. This word in the Hebrew that means violated has already been used in the Bible. Let's see how it's used. If you would turn over in your Bible, I kind of went in order here. In every time this is used, let's start at the beginning and we'll work our way up to our passage. Chapter 15 and verse 3. Let me read this to you here. Genesis 15, we're just going right in order here. This is the first time that word violated in the Hebrew is used. It's in 15:3. Abram said, look, you've given me no offspring indeed, and that is not correct. Sorry, that's the wrong reference. I'll tell you what it says, even though I'm not sure where it is off the top of my head. But it basically is talking, it says the word afflicted. Afflicted is the word there that's used. If somebody sees my error in what the actual verse is, yell it out, I'll be happy to read it. I believe it is in that chapter, but I misdid the reference. But it's the word afflicted, and it's not used, it's used in a word of like oppression. That's the way that it's used, oppression. 15:13, yes, great job. Then he said to Abram, know certainly that your descendants will be as strangers in a land that is not theirs. We will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. Now, I'm just trying to do a Bible study with you, so please bear with my language. I want to be very sensitive the way I say this. But you realize that he's not saying they're going to be raped for 400 years. They are violated, but in a different way, okay? So this is oppression. This is taking advantage of in that way. So we just want to see how this word is being used. 16:6, let's keep going. So Abram said to Sarai, indeed your maid is in your hand. Remember this story? When Hagar It was overseeing, we were looking at the story of when Ishmael was making fun of their child Isaac. And remember, Abraham goes back to Sarah and says, your handmaid is in your hand. Okay, that's where we're at in the story. Do as it pleased to you, verse 6. And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. That word harshly, and the King James says hardly. That means she dealt hard with her. She dealt harshly. That's our word there. That's our word afflicted. So she's mistreating her and was very gruff with her. So I just want you to see how this is used. Let's look at 16:9, same chapter. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourselves under her hand. Submit is our word there. Submit. One more. Let's go to 31:50. 31:50. 31:50. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Now, you remember this is the covenant that Jacob was making with Laban. And as we were going through here, I doubt if anybody in the room thought that what he was talking about was rape there. It means oppression. It means mistreating. Mistreating because you have a higher status, or maybe could manipulate, or you could control. That's the way the word is used. Now, I'm not counting out that Shechem did anything forcibly wrong. I'm not saying he didn't. I just want you to see how the word is used and that it is ambiguous. It gets even more ambiguous as the story goes. So, bear with me. I'm just trying to present to you what I saw this week. Okay? All right. Let's move on. Now, let's reread verse 2. When Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, by the way, when it says Hivite, it's making sure that you understand this is not somebody that is in covenant with Yahweh. A Hivite is a pagan. Hivites, Perizzites, all these words that we see that ends in ites, these are pagans. So Moses is making sure you know, because Moses is writing this, and the Hivites are going to come into play later, and he's saying, here's where we first met them. Shechem took advantage of Dinah. So he's making sure you know this guy is of the Hivites. Hamor the Hivite. That's the dad, Hamor. He's the prince of the country. He saw her, he took her, he lay with her and violated her. Verse 3. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. Do you see why it's a little ambiguous? Now, I'm not saying a psychopath, I'm not ruling out, I'm not so ignorant to believe a psychopath couldn't harm somebody and then say, boy, I sure love them. I mean, that would be weird, but we all know there's Ted Bundys in the world, right? I mean, it's possible he could have still done the worst of the worst and then said, boy, I sure loved you. It's possible. But it does start to put a thought in your mind of him saying he's speaking kind to her and he's really attracted to her and he really loves her. Verse 4. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor saying, get me this young woman as a wife. I think he's used to getting what he wants. I think he's used to saying, hey, Dad, go do this. Now, Dad, I really want to marry this woman. I mean, after all, I've already defiled her. I might as well marry her. But you know what's interesting? If you look back, let me see if I have this. I think I put this in your handouts. There's a note in the Mosaic Law. There's a note in the Mosaic Law. I don't see it. Maybe I put it in. I'll see it in a second. There's a note in the Mosaic Law that says that if a man and a woman, or a man and a virgin consummate, and then they aren't married, pre-marriage, the Mosaic Law states that, now this guy's not a part of that because he's a Hivite, but the Mosaic Law states that man is subject to whatever dowry the father says, and they have to get married. If the man says, I still don't want to marry your daughter, he still has to pay the dowry. Interesting, but that's so I'm just letting you know that's going to be in the Mosaic Law future, but that's after the story. That's not written yet. All right, so it gets interesting. Verses 5 through 10. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Again, strictly speaking, defiled means took her virginity. She's no longer pure in that area. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to speak with Jacob. Went out to Jacob to speak with him. By the way, can we pause for just a moment and just feel the tension of this verse? Do we know what's going on here? Shechem, or Hamor, the dad of the guy who did the deed, dad is coming to speak to dad. The two dads were having a parent conference meeting here. Verse 6, can you imagine? Would you like to be a fly on the wall of that meeting? I would love to have heard this meeting. But here's another takeaway here, or just an observation. Shechem felt comfortable enough to show his face. Hamor felt comfortable enough to show their face to Jacob. Just think about what we're reading here. Verse number 7. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field, and they heard it. Oh, Nelly. Oh, Nelly. The sons come in from the field, and they start hearing Hamor and Jacob speaking. What was their response? Verse number 7. And when they heard it, the men were grieved and very angry. Why? Moses, make sure you don't miss it. Because he had done a disgraceful thing in, okay, pause, in where? Israel. First time in the Bible. We're crossing a monumental marker in the Bible. First time, right here. The geographic land is called Israel. First time, right here. See, Jacob's name is changed to Israel. That's just a man. And he has children. That's his family. And now the place they live, which is the land of Canaan, the area that God promised to them, for the first time, it says the words, in Israel, referring to a geographical location. First time right here. Say, Ken, why is that significant? Oh, we will build on that, and it will be significant. But just keep in your mind that Israel is used in different ways in the Bible. There's different definitions of the word Israel in the Bible. Are you talking about the man? Are you talking about the land? We have to know what we're talking about when we say Israel. Oh, this will come into play. I can promise you that. But for right now, just be aware that it is used here as land for the first time. Now let me go back and read it. The sons of Jacob were in from the field when they heard it. The men were grieved and very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. Now Moses is making, do you notice here the difference? Do you see the difference between a quote and a commentary? See, the quoting is, the historical narrative is telling you what happened. But Moses adds commentary. Did you see it? Can you see it? Here's the commentary. A thing which ought not to be done is Moses commenting on history. I know sometimes it's hard to get your mind wrapped around what's being said here, but you have historical narrative, divine commentary. Just like Moses is making sure, he's writing you a history book, but he wants to make sure you don't miss, by the way, this shouldn't have been done. So when you're reading this, keep in mind, historical narrative, divine commentary on the historical narrative. If you can start recognizing that, your Bible reading will come to life. This is what happened. Here's what God thinks about what happened. Do you see? In that sense, the Holy Spirit can be your Bible teacher. Man, I look for those things. When I see divine commentary, my bells and whistles go off, flags go off, because this right here, divine commentary, trumps any commentary you're going to pick up on the shelf. So if I read a commentary, I don't care whose big name it is, if they say, well, this incident was maybe a good thing. No, it says it was a thing that ought not to be done. That's divine commentary on the historical narrative. So when you start seeing the Bible in terms of genre and commentary on the genre, that's the one you go with. That's the one that shapes our view of the text. So Moses is making sure that you understand. Boy, these men were angry. And they were angry for this reason. Now, let's go back and read the reason in verse 7. Why were they angry? Because he, Shechem, had done a disgraceful thing in Israel. What was the disgraceful thing? Lying with Jacob's daughter. Still, do you see there's not very much information there? But what does it mean by lying with his daughter? It's very ambiguous, isn't it? But we do know this. It shouldn't have happened. That part I know. Verse 8, Hamor spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. Okay, we're not going to go graphic in this, but insert your daughter's name here instead of Dinah. Make the situation for you. Why is this guy in my house? How dare you show your face here? I mean, are we not ready to fight each other? Okay, now you want my daughter to marry you? Here's my takeaway from this thing. Boy, I'll tell you, the ancient Near Eastern culture is on full display here, isn't it? Dad, she's the one that I want. Remember Lot? And he didn't know, but the strangers, they were angels, but Lot didn't know that. He just thought they were visiting. And he knew the men of Sodom were going to force themselves. Bring out the men! They're pounding on the door. Bring out the men! We want the men! And he knows what's going to happen. And remember what Lot says, and it blows our minds. You know what he said? Have my daughters. They've never even known a man. Come again? I'm sorry? This ancient Near Eastern culture has such a low view of women. Such a low view. You say, well, Ken, what's your view? I'm a Christian. And Jesus teaches me that women are equally as valuable as men. That is a Christian ideal. In the last 2,000 years, the world has changed because of Christian values. You see, in Jesus Christ, all are equal. Whether it's men or women or bond or slave or free or whatever, kings or peasants, if you're in Jesus, he's your identity. However goes Jesus, so goes Ken. However goes Jesus, so goes Sarah. That's why I say all the time, I love my wife, but my identity is not in husband. I love my children. I'd die for my children. I'd die for my family. But my identity is not in dad. If something happens to my children and I lose one, I have no reason to live. Or if something happens to them, I'm no longer a good husband because my identity is taken from me. No, folks. I love my family with all my heart, but my identity is in Christ. He's the rock of my salvation. He's the same emotionally every day. I get filled up in him. That's where my wealth is found. That's where my political status is. That's where my spiritual status is. I am a citizen of his kingdom. It's where I get my marching orders. And that hierarchy allows me to be a good father, a good husband. Jesus changed this ancient Near Eastern culture where we viewed people less than who they were. Jesus did that. And if you look at the pockets of the world that are short on the gospel, pockets of the world that don't have the gospel yet, one common strand they all have across the board is women are viewed very low. Where the gospel spreads, women are elevated. So that we love our wives as Christ loves the church and gave himself for it. Jesus did that. You know, I think sometimes in God's plan in his kingdom, he allows things to go to an extreme evil to trick the enemy. Can I give you a quick example? And for those that are watching online, I'll say that for everybody here. And if this is recorded, it won't. Well, it'll still mean much, I guess, as it's recorded. But let's be in prayer today because Charlie Kirk's funeral is today. I've heard estimations that as his pastor shares the gospel, I believe at 2 o'clock, is that Eastern time or do we know? It's Pacific time. So 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, I think, if I'm getting that right. They're in Mountain in Arizona? Okay, yeah, that would make sense. So 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 Mountain, if I'm getting it right. It's not? Yeah, 1, 2, and 4. Oh, so find out when the funeral is. But here's the point. It's said to maybe have been seen by up to 1 billion people today. It may be the most watched thing of all time, and the gospel is going to be presented at it. Now, here's why I say something that's so bad that can be used. Obviously, his death. My goodness, 1 billion people could hear the gospel of Jesus today. But you know something that I saw last night? As I was looking through, just looking through reels that come up on social media, there was a man that was sitting there. He goes, I'm going to tell you guys something. He goes, I don't have a clue who Charlie Kirk is. And he said, I've never listened to anything of his, but he said, but I found out he died and everybody had an opinion about it. And the guy said, I've never one time spent any time, but he said, man, I saw people cheering a death. He said, I saw people saying, good, you got what was coming to you. Oh, did you see the way he fell? Oh, this is so great. Oh, hey man, you mess around, you find out. And he said, man, I couldn't believe the way people were reacting. I never even heard of the guy. He goes, I'm not into it at all. I don't even know who he is. He said, but I know this. If people are cheering for his death, he goes, I got to go listen to one of his debates and find out how bad this guy is. He said, I can't believe how bad this guy is. If people are cheering for a murder, he goes, I had to go see a living, example of Hitler that we have on tape like this, He said, so I don't know who he is, and I go watch one of his debates in full. He goes, you guys are all wrong. He's not racist. What are you talking about? He's not hateful. You're not listening to his arguments. How do you all miss it? He goes, so you guys, it's on y'all for celebrating his murder that drove me to go watch it, and I found out you're wrong. He goes, I'm fascinated by this whole thing. He goes, I'm all in now. I want to hear more of this Charlie Kirk stuff. You say, Ken, what an evil day we're living in that people can celebrate a murder. Oh, guys, let demons be demons. Let demons be demons. Because Jesus is playing 4D chess while they're still looking for the checker pieces. They have no idea what's going on. Jesus is using this to exalt his kingdom to a level we've never seen before. And when I see these stories like this in the Old Testament, I'm reminded of God's incredible graciousness throughout our history, that he uses things for his glory. He says, I want to marry your daughter. You're thinking, well, does she have a say? Or does Lot's daughters have a say? How horrible. It is horrible. And look where we are now. You know the great divide? Jesus Christ. Say, I can't believe how disgusting this story is. Okay, but you know what the difference is between that and now? Jesus came 2,000 years ago, and we've changed the way culture exists. Amazing. You see, if it wasn't that bad, maybe today we would have missed it. Jesus didn't just kind of blur things. He drew a harsh line in the sand of history. He said, you may have heard it said, but I tell you. And his founding documents in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, changed the world. Hamor, verse 8, spake with him, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us. Verse 9. Take our daughters to yourselves. So you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it. Acquire possessions for yourselves in it. I want you just to notice that idea of Israel in your handout. That's a big deal. We're going to see this. We're going to build on that idea. We get to our next section in 11 through 19, that Shechem desires to marry Dinah. Now, he's going to get in the conversation here. Then Shechem said to her father and her brothers. Now, can you believe this? Shechem's now saying, I have something to say. I don't know if this is a great time, pal. Not sure if this is appropriate. Shechem's like, hey, guy, I got something to say. Let me find favor in your eyes. I mean, whatever you say to me, I will give. Ask me ever so much dowry and gift, and I will give it according to what you say to me. But just give me the young woman as a wife. I mean, Shechem is like, I really, really love her. This is Shechem speaking. You tell me the price of the dowry. Tell me the gift that you guys want. I'm willing to do whatever. I'll do whatever it takes just to get her. Sort of sounds like Jacob and Rachel, doesn't it? I'm just saying. Now, the act is different, but I'm saying this portion right here. Hey, tell me what you require of this. But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem. Did you notice it wasn't Jacob that answered? Now, I want to point out that last week when we were together, last chapter we were together, we made mention of Jacob having this new name and Jacob turning over a new leaf and Jacob going ahead of the crowd and Jacob's life changing. But we still have residue from wily old Jacob being self-centered, don't we? Why, oh why do I see here that the ones leading the charge are Jacob's sons? I'm telling you right now, if this happened in the Mady household, I love my kids, but they're not leading the discussion. I'm leading the discussion. Because in my house, I'm the one that's going to be responsible to the Lord for how a very sensitive situation's handled. Jacob is letting the sons lead it. Now listen to what happens. Let's start over 13. The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father, and they spoke deceitfully. Why? Moses, make sure you understand. Because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. So they thought it was just okay to lie and speak deceitfully. What was their deceit? Here's what they said, verse 14. They said to him, we cannot do this thing. Pause. What thing? The thing was giving Dinah to you to marry and marrying some of yours. Okay. Why? Unpause. To give our sister to the one who is uncircumcised. For that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition, we will consent to you if you will become as we are. If every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you. And we will take your daughters to us. And we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you do not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and be gone. Now you might wonder how this turned out, but we find out in 18 and 19 that Hamor and Shechem are pleased with this idea. They said, you know what? We should be one people. You know what? We shouldn't be divided. We're all living in this land. So the question is, did they do the right thing? It's never right to do wrong. And these sons, although I can understand why they were so upset, they never, ever, ever should have used the sign of the covenant from Yahweh to their advantage to manipulate somebody. See, circumcision as the sign of the covenant was a very personal message between a person being obedient and a holy God. These men used it to their advantage and lied about what their intentions were. And I think probably one of the worst parts of this thing was the Gentiles, the Hivites, they said, we'd love to be in unity with you guys. We'd love to be able to get into trade with you. We think that would be great. And if that's what's stopping us, we'll join in with your religion. We don't see that as, we would share this land with you and do business with you. Look at 18 and 19. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So the young man did not delay to do the thing. Shechem's like, I'll go do it right now. Wow. How much did he love Dinah? He's like, I'm in. Yeah, I'll be right back. What? Shechem's all in, man. He's like, where's the closest sharp stone? I'll be right back. This is crazy. This is crazy talk. The young man did not delay to do the thing. Thank you, Moses. That's all we needed. Because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He delighted in her. He was more honorable than all the household of his father. Okay, hang on. Let's go back to our understanding. Historical narrative. You tell me where historical narrative stops. So the young man did not delay to do the thing because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. Where does historical narrative stop? Right there. Where does divine commentary start? This is Moses making sure you don't miss the story. By the way, Moses says, that is Shechem. You know the guy that verse 2 is about? You read it. You tell me what that means. I've had to wrestle with that all week. What do you think it means? Now, all we know is Shechem's more honorable than all the household of his father. Here's what I put in your handout to try and balance out both sides here. My question is that a high bar to begin with? He's more honorable than what? The other pagans? But, you're telling me out of all those people there, it was Shechem who Moses is making sure is the most honorable? What does verse 2 mean now? Is it clear cut to you? I'll tell you this. This is my gut. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm okay being wrong. Here's my gut. I think 13-year-old Dinah is walking around town looking for new friends. Shechem is smitten with her. And I think, in the sense that he defiled her, afflicted her, took advantage of her, I think he talked her into doing something and maybe grabbed her arm, maybe that kind of thing too. But I think he emotionally manipulated her. I think he pressured her. But probably not in the sense of, and I don't want to be graphic. You get what I'm saying. I don't want to even go on. You understand what I'm saying. And I think once he did the deed and defiled her, he's like, I'm willing to be with you the rest of my life. And I think that's what's being presented here, which is way different than I've heard my whole life. I'm just reading the texts. If you disagree with me, that's okay. But I know Moses is adding a very confusing phrase here. He was more honorable than the other, and he was willing to get circumcised immediately. I'm in, sure, whatever you guys want to do. I just want to be with her. Okay, we get to our next section. Now, I think that what we're presenting today, I think you could take it one of two ways. Say, Ken, I think you're wrong. I think it was horrifically violent and a typical rape we think of it. Okay, let's take it that way too. And now let's all just agree it could be of a spectrum of what could that mean. Either way, it was bad. Moses said it ought not to have been done in the land. Spectrum, I'm not sure. I gave you my take. Maybe it's the worst of the worst. But now let's agree. Let's get back to the text in 20 through 24 and look at this last part here. Shechem and Hamor conduct a city council meeting. Okay, guys, here's what we heard. Order in the court, order in the court. Our meeting comes to order. Hamor and Shechem and his sons came to the gate of their city. Remember the gate of the city, right? City council. He spoke with the men of their city saying, hey, fellas, these men are at peace with us. Now, why did they think that? Because they told them. They trusted them. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For indeed, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us wives, and let us give them our daughters. The only condition is, will the men consent to dwell with us to be one people? If every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised, will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? In other words, available to us through trade? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of the city, in other words, every person who went to the council meeting, heeded Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of the city. Now let me ask you this question. What did those men have to do with verse number 2? What did they have to do with what Shechem did to Dinah? Zero. Nothing. What they're entering into was, they believe, a civil contract. They believe they're entering into an ability to have trade with people that are in the land. And they're like, you know what? I mean, guys, I'm telling you, I've read this thing 20 times this week to try and not say this wrong. I believe these people are like, hey, we found new friends. We'll dwell in peace with you. We can trade with you, or sure, we could be a family. Let's enter into this agreement. Our daughters can marry you guys. Your daughters can marry us. And this land is big enough for all of us. And all the men of the city council said, this honestly sounds like a good deal for us. Too good to pass up. Let's dwell with them. They can dwell with us. The land's big enough. Let me ask you this question. Am I off in that? 20 through 24, is that what you see? I don't see anything in 20 through 24 any different than what I'm saying. If I'm wrong, tell me. I will confess I misunderstood it. But that's what I'm reading in 20 through 24. Now read 25 through 30. Simeon and Levi do the unthinkable and become mass murderers. Now it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, that is from the circumcisions, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took a sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. I'm sorry. What? Oh yeah, that's in there. They became mass murderers. They killed Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword. And by the way, verse 26, they took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. You know what that means? Dinah was in Shechem's house. What was she doing there? Did she feel comfortable there? Was she scared to death and needed saving? You mean to tell me these men had a city council meeting and Dinah's at Shechem's house and they didn't just take her home? Oh, why didn't they start with Shechem and Hamor and kill them and take Dinah? No, they started with all the other men of the city? What was Dinah doing there? Why was she there? Or did they use her as bait to make them think they were in peace and then kill them all? Was she scared? What's going on here? This is what I do know. On this day, Simeon and Levi became mass murderers. Verse 26, they killed Hamor and Shechem with his son with the edge of the sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. Verse 27, the sons of Jacob, now I don't know if this includes Simeon and Levi or all the other ones, I'm not sure. But I would guess since Moses said it twice, I think the others probably joined in. That's my guess, but it could still be Simeon and Levi, I'm not sure. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because their sister had been defiled. I think Moses is drawing this comparison so you don't miss the fact this is all, Moses had said it, 5 times in this chapter? This is because they defiled Dinah. This is because they defiled Dinah. Now they're walking around the dead bodies, just plundering the city. How sick is this? They're dead bodies, and now they're plundering the city. And Moses is reminding you, this is because Dinah's virginity was taken from her. Mass murderers. They took sheep, they took oxen, their donkeys, what was in the city and what was in the field, and all their wealth. You say, I don't know, Ken, I might still be on Team Jacob and Sons. Okay, well, what do you think about this? Verse 29, they took all the kids. They took all their little ones and their wives. They took them captive. They plundered even all that was in the houses. See, I don't know, the punishment fits the crime. Are you serious? Sorry, I'm going to stand on the side of righteousness and say they missed the mark way over the top. If they found Shechem guilty of rape and put him to death, I could say, I understand. But this, you're taking innocent fathers away from their families and killing them. You're walking over their dead bodies and ravaging their stuff, and you're taking their kids and their wives captive. Oh, this isn't even close eye for an eye. This is a brutal scene and disgusting. Verse 30 and 31. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi. Now look at your text very closely. I'm going to talk about what Jacob says to Simeon and Levi. You both have transgressed against God and are in trouble with his righteousness. Do you see that? No, that's not in the text. Jacob didn't say that. What did Jacob care about when he heard about this mass murder? You have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I'm few in number, they will gather themselves together against who? Against me. And they're going to kill me. Whoa, Jacob, not Rachel? Not Leah? Not Joseph? Oh, they're going to kill you. Got it. Okay. What a selfish guy. I mean, this is, if it wasn't so sad, it's almost a comedy. They go and they mass murder the whole city, and Jacob goes, do you realize what you've done? Do you know how this could affect me? I mean, do you see this? We are so out of bounds of God's righteousness in this chapter. So let me read 30 and 31. We'll conclude. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, you've troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land. Among the Canaanites, the Perizzites, since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me and shall destroy my household that I have. I shall be destroyed, my household, and I. What did they say back? They said, hey, Dad, should he treat our sister like a harlot? Another clue. How is a harlot treated anyway? Not well, but I'm not sure that it fits the description of rape. Defile means he took her virginity. He manipulated her. He forcibly probably put her in a position where she didn't have much choice. But guys, this is not a clear-cut case, and they murdered a bunch of people. Told you, tough chapter. Tough chapter. What's the life application here? Well, here's what I do know. I know this is a tough one, but I'm thinking through, as a father, as a husband, what do I learn from this? Here's what I've learned from this chapter. See if you agree. I know this. We must, and you need to figure this out before a tragedy happens in your family. You need, moms and dads, grandpa and grandma, we need to have this discussion before the event happens, okay? We must allow the Lord to always speak to us in times of trials and tribulations. By the way, pause. Did you see anything in this chapter about them going and seeking after the Lord? Nada. Always, always, always pause and pray when you're angry. That was absent in this chapter. When at all possible, allow the Lord to be our avenger. I'm going to read it again. When at all possible, allow the Lord to be our avenger. Being self-centered or prideful will cause us to minimize our offending God and maximize others offending us. Lord, help me to see others as you do. Help me to see myself as you do. I asked you some questions in our study guide. I'll tell you my answers. Verses 1 through 10, I asked, in your opinion, what are the emotions going on in Dinah and her family after the event in verse 2? Well, Dinah was, I'm sure, no doubt hurt, confused, scared. And by the way, I put for lots of reasons, because now that we've gone through the chapter, maybe one of the reasons is, what's Dad going to think of this? Or maybe, what are my brothers going to think of this? Verses 11 through 19. What does 11 and 12 tell you about Shechem's worldview? That's where they came in and asked for her to be the wife. How does he view himself? Well, I just put the ancient Near East was very different than the way we think concerning marriage. Oh, I knew I put it in there. Exodus 22, 16 and 17. That tells you that if somebody defiles a woman before they're married, the father tells the man who did the action what the dowry is, and then he has to marry her. But if he says, I still don't want to marry her, he still pays the dowry. So that you can check that out. Shechem seemed to be comfortable enough to show his face and talk to her family. And coupling this with Moses' words in verse 19, which was he was more honorable than all the other household of his father, it makes me unsure about the clear actions of Shechem. I just stand before you and say, it was something that ought not to have been done, but I'm echoing Moses. Exactly what was it? I'm not certain. I know it was something that should have happened. I hope you appreciate my approach on that. I'm not trying to minimize it. I just don't know. 20 through 24. In your opinion, do you think the brothers were wrong for making the men to the town get circumcised? Emphatically yes. Mostly, and more than anything, because they profaned the sign of the covenant and used it to their advantage. It's what Israel does later in the story too, when God says he'll fight their battles for them if they're obedient to the covenant. Essentially, and this is what the book of Amos is about, Israel looks at all the other nations and went, we got God on our side. Look at you punks over there. You don't stand a chance. And they started mocking the other nations because they had God on their side. Exact opposite what they're supposed to do. What they're supposed to do is let the gospel of the covenant shine through them and be a light to the other nations. Instead, they mocked the other nations because God chose us. It's exactly what the sons are doing here. The world would be a better place if the people of God would shine the gospel to the people that don't have it. I put here, the Lord will avenge our hurts. We do not need to lie, especially about the Lord, to defend ourselves and avenge a loved one. Verses 25 to 31. With Jacob being on one side, and I kind of mean this as like trying to figure out two sides, Simeon and Levi on the other, do you tend to lean towards one of these sides more than the other? Who's right here? My answer is they're both wrong. Oh, they're both wrong. I meant Simeon here, sorry. Simeon and Levi were cold-blooded killers. And Jacob could only think about himself and how it made him look. The whole thing's sad. There's no mention of them at all seeking the Lord in this situation. So, tough chapter. But I think here's what the big takeaway we can have from this chapter is just say, Lord, when things come my way that are incredibly difficult, please give me the strength to pause and seek your face. Tough to do. Tough to do. That's Genesis 34. Next time we get together, Lord willing, we'll continue this adventure in Genesis 35. God bless.